If she doesn't volunteer after we make a decision, then I'll just take it with me in the process.
What used to come on TV back in the old days, technical difficulties. You see that screen. Now with all digital, you don't see that much anymore. Most of y'all are too young to remember that.
Still remember when television used to now it's on all night long.
Used to play the national anthem at midnight.
Yeah. Or then he went like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, yeah, on all night long.
Yeah. This is A1. This is your two-family home.
That's a very good question.
So I've got, I looked through the R1, A1, R2, all of them. The way some of it's worded makes me think that it means a duplex. But I'm not going to know that without y'all's back.
We might have to.
So my thought on this is looking at pretty muddy language between it is what I think should happen is you should make a determination on if you're gonna issue a building permit or not, and then, you know, whatever that determination is, that person. But I think the intent behind the wording of the language is and it's both listed as attached was to clarify. However, if you look at the discrepancy between the Trousdale and the person, and the commercial zoning is
Yeah, I'm looking at that either way. That also is the same.
But I'm assuming you probably have this question because someone probably wants some permit now or something.
Someone's interested in it, but I told them I wasn't gonna make a determination by myself.
Okay, we kind of added. All right, it is 7:01. We'll call this meeting to order. We will begin with the roll call. Mary Ann Baker.
Here.
Rhonda Keesman.
Here.
David Thomas. Here. Thomas Harper. Here. Dennis Foster. It's not here. David Nolan. Here. Mark Swaffer. Here. And John Kerr is here. So we're all present except for Mr. Foster. We do have a quorum. At this time, I would accept a motion for approval of the minutes. You've had them sent to you, haven't for quite some time. Does anybody see anything that needs to be updated or changed in the minutes? I thought our new secretary did an excellent job, as she has always done. So moved. Motion by Mr. Harper to approve the minutes, second by Mr. Thomas. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. It is unanimous. Minutes are approved. All right, the first thing on our agenda this evening is a public hearing. We have a proposed amendment to the subdivision regulations for sidewalk requirements. The public hearing for this proposed amendment is for subdivision regulations of Hartsville / Trousdale County, Tennessee to subsection 4-103.106 blocks in subsections 4-108, pedestrian ways in Article 4. Article 4 requirements for improvements, reservations, and design to add sidewalk requirements. And there's also a. We need to do a second. And then we're also, part of this is the proposed amendment to the subdivision regulation for cluster mailboxes. Public hearing on the proposed amendment to the subdivision regulations of Hartsville, Trousdale County, Tennessee. Article 4, requirements for improvement, reservations, and design to add subsection 4-113 cluster box units. So I do declare this public hearing open. If there's anyone here to speak to either of the proposed amendments, please raise your hand so that we can schedule, make sure we get everybody. Anyone here to speak during the public hearing? I'll ask one more time. Anyone here to speak to the public hearing for the proposed amendments to the subdivision regulations for sidewalk requirements or cluster mailboxes? Mr. Knowles?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I have a motion that the public hearing be closed. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Baker. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say no. The public hearing is closed. Next on our agenda is old business, and there is no old business at this time, so we will get right into our new business. First is final plat for Sulpher College Estates, tax map 18, parcel 4.03. The applicant is requesting final plat approval for the 27 lot subdivision located at the corner of Sulpher College Road and Highway 25 West. I believe we know this property well. Everybody remembers where we're talking about. Good. Some copies here. Whoever's here to speak on this final plat approval, please go to the microphone on the other side, please.
Richard Graves, surveyor, Brian Goodwin, project engineer.
Go ahead, sir.
We're here requesting final approval for this subdivision. We've went through, made changes. I think we added a sidewalk. She asked us if we would do a sidewalk from the mail, cluster mail area down to the pavement of our new road, and we agreed. I feel like that would be a good safety feature. They could walk down the road and not get out on Sulpher College. They could walk through the mailboxes. So, and we moved the cluster mailboxes onto lot 1, took 200 square feet out of that, and the HOA is going to take care of that area and the sidewalk. Mary, what else do we?
I think everything else is pretty minor as far as.
Yeah, I think,
building setbacks.
right. I think the other was just cleaning up some detail, a few things. I think we did. I think we like one note, and that would be they wanted lot 1A, which is 200 square feet, to be labeled a non-building lot. which I don't have a problem with that. I missed it and I apologize.
Any questions this time? Mr. Engineer, would you like to speak?
I just, with the blue to attorney construction drawings, the flags what the plan is showing. And I haven't received comments back from, I guess, the engineer review, but they turned them all in and will make whatever minor corrections that have been made. So, on the second one, that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for either one of these gentlemen, from any members of the planning commission at this time?
I've got one. My concern through this whole project has been the creek that runs between for 1 and 2 and lots 25 there. Looking at this, you've got listed as drain. Are you planning on putting a culvert and covering it?
Yes, we are. We're planning for 2 48-inch concrete pipes with the inlet head wall and outlet head wall.
Okay.
With size for that, and I size it for a 50-year event. It will detain or not cross over the road. Which exceeds typically most of the regulations stays in C. So we do have that plan showing the construction drawings.
So, and it looks like on 1 and 2, you've got plenty of room to stagger the house so that you wouldn't be building on top of those. But in 25, where's the so
On the preliminary plat, on lot 25, they can build on the right.
okay here.
It's quite a steep, it's coming out of in quite a steep area, and then once you get up there, there's a nice flat area
Okay.
on that. I might say one other thing, we between staff and I, we were talking about the barn. We put a note on the barn on lot 27 or 28, the last lot. 27, that we would like to keep the barn until the binder is down and it would be removed at that time. They'll have a place to put construction materials and stuff that they need, if that would be okay. They just wouldn't issue no COs until that barn is removed. But I told them they can tear it down when they get the binder and everything. So if y'all are agreeing to that note is on the way.
That's a good idea.
Might be the guy that buys that lot, might want that barn. You might want the barn.
Yeah, the issue is the barn won't comply with the setbacks that are being
Okay,
introduced, so
okay.
to keep the barn, you'd have to get a variance for the
Okay.
setbacks there.
It's a decent one.
Again, I know what you say.
And if they, I'll tell the owner, well, the owner's here, but we'll explain that to the buyer if they want to come in and try to get a variance. I'm sure they could and fix it up, but I mean, it's a pretty good building.
Any other questions for either of these gentlemen before we go to staff? Okay. Sam?
I've discussed everything with them already. I think Mary and them has been discussing the preliminary plat and have been hashing some stuff out.
So can you hear me okay? I'm gonna walk through, so they'll be the same variances that we've discussed both on the sketch plot and the preliminary plat that need to be considered on the final. So I'm just gonna reiterate those. Staff recommendation would be to be consistent in issuing those, but just so we have those on the record and everyone's clear, information is made. These would be the variances that would be considered. The subdivision regulations, blocks, section 4-103.106 requires that blocks should have sufficient width to provide 2 tiers of block to appropriate depth, but exception can be permitted in blocks adjacent to major public ways, railroads, or waterways. So during the sketch plat, and filming the plat, they issued a variance for the layout as proposed without 2 tiers of blocks. 2 tiers of blocks, and with the driveways that access the interior roads as opposed to out in the water. And then there's also the block length requirement that states wherever practicable, block along arterial or collective route should not be less than 1,000 feet in length. Highway 25 is arterial and Sulpher College Estates collector, the block length would be less than 1,000 feet in length. On Highway 25, the length is about 854 feet, and on Sulpher College, it's only about 188.5 feet. the planning commission issued a variance for this blocking issue on both the spec plat and preliminary plat phase. There's also the requirement in relation to lawn blocks, and the ability of the planning commission to require a pedestrian easement or other easement to accommodate utilities. That we had discussed on both of those, and as Mr. Graves mentioned, he did add sidewalk that I had asked for to bring the connection from the cluster mailboxes down into the subdivision. So that's another. And then for and then he had added, sorry, the arrangement of continuing public ways, he added the connection to that sport and the temporary turnaround have the sufficient area at the moment to comply with the subdivision regulations. And there's a note in here about fire hydrants. He's actually since added a fire hydrant between lots 4 and 5, so that spacing requirement is met in that regard. Additionally, I have a number of items listed under plat issues that should be corrected. However, most of them have been covered as of about 4:30 today. I got a new plat. Just a couple of them. And I'm just gonna list these out real quick. The setback distance on lot 18 just needs to be labeled. I think it's just missing what that setback will be. It's on the lot on over that. And then as Mr. Hughes mentioned, note will be added to lot 1A to clarify that it'll be an unbuildable lot. The plat certificate, other than the approval for recording, obviously need signatures, and I believe that should clarify all the rest of the plat issues with staff. So staff recommendation would be approval of those corrections made.
And Mayor, you need a surety bond for the utilities, correct?
Correct.
And the road,
Yeah, and technically the
HOA. So,
yes, and the subdivision regulations do require that the planning commission review that amount, in the period for that surety bond for any improvements being made, and just give an approval of that as well. So, I can let Mr. Graves speak to that. I don't know what's been submitted.
speak to, I'm sorry.
I said, I can let you speak to it. I don't know what's been submitted to the planning commission as far as the amount for time period for the surety bond.
We don't, the engineering plans are still under review, so we don't have those amounts yet. But when we get them, I'll come back here and present, we'll approve or let y'all look it over and approve those according to y'all's engineer's recommendations.
All right. Any questions for Sam or Mayor? Mayor, you have any comments?
I think most of the issues that came up in the past have been addressed on the most, I just noticed there's also a fire hydrant on lot 13. Now it's been a complaint from the fire department in the past that some of these didn't have the fire hydrant, so it was supposed to be on the board with our ordinances, so I'm glad to see those on there and that'll address their concerns.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Any questions? All right, at this time then, I will seek a motion of approval, of final plat approval, contingent upon the plat issues that Mary has talked about being corrected before Mary Ann signs off on final sign. I need a motion. Mr. Thomas?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this, as long as we do have those corrections with the block variance being given, the block length variance being given, and I believe you said the long block variance. So we need to also repeat on this one.
Yes, I think, well, so it's just the two variances, so the variance for the block arrangement and then the length.
So I'd like to make a motion with those two both being granted and the approval of the plot.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Swallow. Any discussion? We do have a motion and a second. No discussion? All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed, please say no. It is unanimous. This final plat approval has been given.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask that on the block, when you're joining the major highway, just look at putting some language in there where you don't have to get a variance, you know, you're not gonna access the major highway anyway, so you might look at that and put that. You understand what I'm saying? But so you didn't have to get a variance, because you can't double up lots on a major highway like Highway 25, if you can't use it for access. So, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Which I'm not, if you can't hear me, follow me.
Okay.
A lot of that student here folks going out. From the TV stuff. All right. We will now move on the agenda to item number 2, a rezoning request off of McMurry Boulevard. The request is C2 to be changed to R2. The applicant requests rezoning from C2 Highway Commercial District to R2 Medium Density Residential for a portion of a property on McMurray Boulevard. The property is identified as Trousdale County Tax Map Parcel 5.04 and consists of approximately 20.08 acres and is on the south side of Highway 25 West. This is right beside the body shop.
Yes, Blankenship.
Blankenship's Body Shop down there. Everybody's familiar with where we're, if you were looking, standing on the road looking at the body shop, this property would be to the left of that.
They have it clear, there's a driveway entrance where it's located on the map there. So this site plan has been talked about for months. I worked with the Carmens who are presenting it, let them know that I would not support changing the zoning on the front portion of the property. It is already zoned commercial and I believe it should stay commercial. Me telling them that they were very willing to work with me and they came up with this scenario, which, you know, I agree with their setup the way they have it. It kind of matches what Gallatin's been doing where they have the commercial front lots and the dense residential behind it. This will leave us space. There is some topography issue, but I'm not really worried about it. If the company really wants that spot, they will fill that hole. So, but I believe we should leave the front commercial.
Sam and I talked about this last week, and I agree. If we're going to have commercial property, it's going to be on in the Highway 25 corridor, you know, and with the topography going west, I mean, east of town, really just doesn't lend itself. Be a lot of filling in, you know, there. So, you know, going west is probably where we're going to continue to grow business-wise if someone wants to be on the Highway 25 corridor inside the city, or even in the county, basically.
Plus, with the high school being moved up there, I'm really surprised more restaurant businesses and stuff haven't relocated to closer to the high school. But with the way the population's growing, I see that coming, so.
Okay. Questions? Well, first, let me ask, is anyone representing the owners here this evening to speak to this? Okay. Questions, discussion?
Who is the owner?
Mr. Carmen and several members of his family.
I believe it's pretty much the siblings of old Mr. Jimmy.
Okay.
In that. Carol, that are the girls. The floor is open.
So on this lot, are they looking to actually have a subdivision behind the commercial lots or?
You can look at it right there. If you're not familiar with it, you might want to come up and look at it. I think, if I remember correctly, it's 45 homes, I believe.
48.
48. Okay.
And then this, they would comply with our new,
Yes.
They would.
because this is a zoning request, right?
This is.
I was very pleased to hear the people before did that. Mary did a great job.
You hand that to us.
Did that. I think that's a win-win for the residents and
Yeah.
that subdivision.
They have to be here to request this.
No, they just have to sign the application. Am I correct about that, mate? Is our legal mind and mayor all wrapped into one?
I am not the attorney, that's Brandon Miller, so.
I know,
But,
I
I
mean,
don't recall there being any requirement from actually being here.
I don't
If there was any questions, they'd be here to answer. I don't think, as far as they file the application coming in, I don't think there's any requirement that they be here.
and that's why we have them sign the application.
When they start bringing the plans, then they'll be here, yes. Just rezone.
Pass.
Well, I would also say, and again, I just want to preface this is my personal opinion, I'm not the county attorney, so this is not a legal opinion, let's make sure I put that out there. I think in some of the past discussions that has gone to the county commission, there's been too much focus on what they want to do with property and not much focus on if zoning to this, anything that's allowed in that ordinance can be done on this property. So I think that needs to be looked at here. Let's look at, okay, they're wanting to do R2 to make it multi-residential, whether it's 20 properties or 48 properties, is that a proper use that the county commission think, I mean, the planning commission think it should be rezoned for this request? I would just stress that try to look at it in totality of this is what this zoning will allow, not this is what this person wants to use it for. Because once you zone it, they can come back and change it later, and it doesn't matter what they want to do then, it's what it allows under the zoning request, so. And that's something I'm gonna stress to the planning commission, because I think in some of the county commission, too many commissions. But there's been too much focus, I think, on the county commission, of what do they want to do with the property? Well, it doesn't matter what they want to do with it, if you're gonna rezone it to this, they can do anything that zoning ordinance allows. Is that proper use? Do they think that's what should be approved? I think that's led to some of the issues I think that's come up between what's approved here, what goes up there, is not approved here, what goes up there, is too much focus on what does this person want to do with it, not what does this zoning allow.
I think Mayor made a very good statement there. That is true, you know. Sometimes we get caught up in maybe who it is and that type of thing. But he's exactly right. Once a zoning is changed or approved, whatever our zoning rules allow in that zoning district, they can do. I mean, right now it's 48 homes, but it could be 48 duplexes or whatever regulations.
Whatever would fit.
Right.
It does allow duplexes there, single family, duplexes, group home for physically and mentally handicapped persons, essential services, which is in most zonings, accessory use of structures, which I can list them out, but I did bring the ordinance with, and I will continue bringing it every month if anybody wants to look at it.
Hopefully everyone's under a copy.
They did.
Printed.
We do.
So my question, the way that is laid out and the way this is written, it looks like they're looking to rezone the whole 20 acres into an R2. So what's to,
Well, that's a good question. Is it the whole? They, no, because that would change the commercial status of
the front, yeah. But
So
there's,
what part of that are they willing to rezone?
Just the back portion.
Okay,
so they're wanting to subdivide it.
that's a good catch.
So, yeah, so I would say that's my primary staff concern that I raised is, and I mean, this has come up before, I think Sam sent an email about it, it really should be common practice to have a legal description after depicting the entire square footage of the area or an actual plot done.
especially in a situation like this where you're gonna have multiple zonings on the same property. Because you're actually, I mean, they're gonna be subdividing it, having commercial on some of them and residential on some.
And then that
So-
legal description or that plat can be accompanied with the rezoning ordinance because the county commission.
That's why I requested that before he even got approved for rezoning, so that you'd see which portion he's actually rezoning. That is what he's wanting to rezone.
So, yeah, so we'll need, legal description of that area that's shown on there. And square footage dimension, whatever, to accompany the ordinance, so there's no question about.
Which part yeah, because it looks like we're rezoning 20 acres into R2.
Based on the application.
Yeah.
That's the-
Do we want to move on this? I mean, we know the departments that they're good about following the word, but I think in the future, we should definitely make sure that we know we should have a legal description of what needs to be rezoned before we even consider it. Would you agree with that, Mr. Mosley?
Yes, sir, this kind of issue came in front of the county commission probably 3 or 4 months ago. We had a piece of property, we had to have a legal description put in the resolution. It got approved on the first reading, and it was required before it came back to the second reading that they get the legal description, and that was added to the resolution. It was amended and it passed with the legal description in there, but if it could come from this body with the legal description accompanying it, then that would alleviate that issue going forward. But like I said, it did come up in front of the county commission, that was the issue.
Well, as a screening body for the county commission, I think going forward, we should definitely require that from this point on. I don't have a problem with holding this up for another month until they get that. That's just whatever y'all decide.
I agree.
I'd like to make a motion that we give them time to get that legal description before we make a ruling on this one.
Okay.
That way we're at least consistent moving forward.
Okay. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Nom. I have a motion by Mr. Thomas to delay the request for rezoning until owners can provide a legal description to Mr. Edwards. And a second by Mr. Nom. Everybody understand what we're voting on? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say no. It is unanimous. We will put this off for a month and give the applicants the opportunity to get a legal description in so that we'll know exactly how much property we're dealing with. Okay.
I will say that's a great idea. If you notice, I don't know, we're providing a copy of the zoning change application. But for the requested zoning, it's listed as C2 and R2. And I requested him provide that plat first before we push forward. So, but when we push forward in the future, we will accompany a plat like that with a legal description.
This would be pretty simple. I mean, obviously, the commons have adequate access to surveyors and the like. I don't see this holding them up much. Okay, we will now move on to number 3 on our agenda, the proposed amendment to the subdivision regulation sidewalk requirements. We have discussed this thoroughly for the last several months. This is a staff request for approval of a proposed amendment to the subdivision regulations of Hartsville, Trousdale County, Tennessee. Subsection 4-103, 106 blocks, and subsection 4-108 pedestrian ways, and Article 4. Article 4 requirements for improvement, reservations, and design to add sidewalk. As I said, we discussed this earlier. To be honest, I was somewhat surprised that we had no one here for the public hearing. But that was well publicized. They had their opportunity. I think, as I have said before, my main reason for this is the safety aspect of it, and the planner on our first thing that we approved tonight agreed. That's why he said he had no problems with going in and adding it on to their plat, even though technically probably didn't have to, but he did that. And he said, safety. Discussion. Yes, sir.
For the motion approved.
Have a motion by Mr. Nolan to approve the subdivision regulation for sidewalk requirements to be added to our subdivision regulations.
I do want to clarify one thing. There was some question on this in the public hearing on the agenda. Just to again verify this for the commission members. Item number 3 is a recommended change to the proposed, to the subdivision regulations. So we met the public hearing requirement that was advertised, so we did, yes, public hearing was had. So with the motion in the second, if this passes approval, it will be adopted into the subdivision regulation. The other, the item,
The mailbox.
yeah, items 4 and 6 would be recommendations from you all to the county commissioner. So just to clarify that. So we know what they got.
Good to bring that. We discussed that. I mean, I think everybody,
I think
but it never hurts to remind people what they're getting ready to vote on.
Because it can be confusing, I think it could be, because of the news.
Okay, so Mr. Nolan made a motion. I'm looking for a second. Second by Mr. Harper, that we add the sidewalk requirements to the subdivision regulations. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say no. They are so added. And just to echo what Mary said, these now become part of the subdivision regulations for Hartsville, Trousdale County.
I'll try to get an updated page printed for everyone that reflects this, so you can include that with the binder.
Okay. Item 4, proposed amendments to the Hartsville zoning ordinance and Cloudsdale zoning resolution for sidewalk requirements. This is a staff request for a recommendation of approval of proposed attachments to the Hartsville zoning ordinance, Article 3, Section 3.120, pedestrian circulation. I'm not going to read all that. I think we know what we're doing. This would be adding the sidewalk requirement. This would be requesting that the county commission approve adding sidewalk requirements to the Hartsville zoning ordinance and Trousdale zoning resolution.
And this is separated, there's 2 drafts in front of you, one is the draft ordinance and one is the draft resolution. And so slightly that where essentially it would be in front of our county commission.
I'll give you a minute to look at those. Again, I think our fellow commissioners hopefully agree with us, on the safety side of this. I think they will.
Real quick, I do just want to mention that it's changed based on our discussion at the last meeting. So there was text regarding the planting strip being 5 foot wide, and we discussed that that should be pulled out of the text and put into the same chart as the sidewalk with. There's a difficult with these. There's a chart displaying the class of the street, the sidewalk width that would be required, and then the planting strip. And for the planting strip, for any minor public ways, that would be 2 foot wide, and for collectors and trails, that would be 5 foot wide. And it also added just kind of a diagram that shows what we're talking about for the traveling star versus the planting strip versus the sidewalk area.
Questions or discussion? ready for the question? Still need some time to look at those drafts. I assume y'all are ready for the question. I will accept a motion that we send to the county commission for their approval, the proposed amendments to the subdivision regulation for cluster mailboxes. Oh, I changed. I was getting ahead. I was moving on.
Go back to number 4.
Yeah. Change those last 2 words to sidewalks. Glad y'all caught that. I tend to try to move on. I will accept the motion to approve these,
I'll make
to
that.
send these to the county commission for their approval for sidewalks.
Yes, sir. I'll make that motion.
Mr. Thomas makes the motion. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Keesler. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say no. It does pass unanimously. Now we can catch up with my big man. Number 5 on our agenda is the proposed amendment to the subdivision regulations for cluster mailboxes. And this is a staff request for approval of the proposed amendment to the subdivision regulations of Hartsville, Trousdale County, Tennessee. Article 4, requirements for improvements, reservations, and design to add subsection 4-113 cluster box units. And, you know, I mean, this is a post office requirement, so there's really not much we can do.
So the only thing that's changed on this, since we last talked about last month, was number 10. The language has changed to say the address number and each dwelling unit and corresponding mailbox shall comply with the adopted building code for Hartsville. And then just the one in the folder.
Any discussion or questions?
Here, you said 10, what? 10?
10 on page 3, the last item.
Okay.
I would accept a motion at this time to propose for this proposed amendment to the subdivision regulations for cluster mailboxes. Again, this is a subdivision regulation, so if this passes, it will go into effect. This is not to the county commission. This is under our purview.
I make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion by Mr. Harper to approve the amendment, second by Mr. Nolan. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say no. It does pass unanimously. Item 6 is basically the same thing, except it will go to the county commission. This proposed amendment to the Hartsville zoning ordinance for cluster mailboxes. So we're doing the same thing again. So this one goes to the county commission for their approval to add to the ordinance and all the things that they control. Yes, sir.
Make a motion.
Nolly makes a motion to send this amendment to the county commission for their approval. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Thomas. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say no. It does pass unanimously. Don't get too excited, even though that's the end. We've got a couple of things to discuss. First, if you saw the Miss Amy came up with a couple of options for sending explaining the workings of the planning commission and why they have done things or asked for things on rezonings and that type of thing to the county commission so that they have a written statement as to the thinkings of the planning commission for them to use in their deliberations. Going forward, there were two options. This one has been recommended.
Is that number two?
Same.
I believe that was the second one. It was on my email. Sam thought that one would be the best one to use. David, let the mayor look at it and see if, ask him if he has any preference on that one or the other.
They're
I like
exactly,
the second one better. So,
Okay.
they're exactly the same, it's just the way they're set up. I
Yeah, it's
think
just
that
the
one
way
looks
Formatted
more-
kind of differently,
I
right?
think that one looks more professional, it would work better. And with her putting the names at the top, it would make easy attendance for Mary Ann. She could just check or circle or however she wants to do it as well as. So it would copy it,
You need to see.
on this format, I actually show who was there, who voted, what we voted on. So it's all in one place. So, but I think that one looks the best, so.
I agree.
We got credit.
Mayor, please thank Amy for her work on this. They both were excellent. Do we need a motion or we just accept it?
I don't think we need a motion for that, it's just something that you can use and submit with it. I don't-
It's just adding new paperwork to the planning commission. And hopefully it can help, as I said before, explain the thinkings of the planning commission to the county court. We have two excellent county court members here that can do that, but sometimes it just helps to have something to back you up. All right, so this is the option that has been approved. And we may need to pass this one around. This is from our zoning regulations under detached dwellings. There are three items under detached dwellings: single family, two family, and mobile home. Sam, would you pass that?
This is from the agricultural section,
This is A1.
A1. I want a consensus decision. It doesn't have to be tonight. Go home, look at your books, and everybody can get back to me personally, and we can discuss it.
What we're asking for is what does two family mean?
And if we're all on the same page, then I feel more comfortable making a decision. I don't make assumptions in my office. If it's not in black and white, I'm not doing it. So I want to know exactly what y'all think, because you're the ones going to be backing up my decisions.
And I can see why this is confusing. I mean, you know, when you think of two families that in A1, they were given permission for two families to live in the same home, or is it a duplex, or?
So I had a gentleman today, I said I wasn't going to mention his name. I want to find out what this means to y'all first. But he's interested in this, and I told him I was not going to make a decision until I have a firm answer from everybody what it means. This is the first time it's come forward to me that this has been requested. So today I scoured the zoning ordinance, and there's multiple places. The wording's a little different, but this is the only place it's just like that. Why it's like that on the A1, I'm not sure. Looking at, I've got the zoning ordinance here, looking at the R1 section, R2 section, and going through each and every zoning type. I think it potentially might mean duplex. Discussing with Mary, it also might mean, because it's in A1, it's talking about the farm use aspect of it, and having a second home for
Like a shared property in older times.
but there is an entire section for that already in the zoning ordinance. For 12 or more acres, you can have up to 3 houses.
Okay.
So there's already a section explaining that. Why would this be in there for 2?
Duplex to me. Sam, what section are you referring to?
Let me talk.
Yeah, so in my, and that's, I'm saying this to you, what I said, but in my guess at what the interpretation of this, what the intent might have been, exactly not, because it's only in the A1 zoning district. I was thinking that it's trying to permit you to have more than one single family residence on a lot. If you either want to share Harvard to agree, then I know it's pretty common for someone to want to let their kids, build on their larger property. However, it does become very much a gray area because in every other zoning district, it specifically lists, single family detached and then duplex as a separate kind of thing. Then it becomes even more of a gray area if you take a look at the Hartsville zoning ordinance, which anywhere that it says two family also has / duplex. So in the Hartsville zoning ordinance is interpreting two family and duplex to be the same use. So I'm not sure why it's separated and without definition in the Trousdale zoning resolution.
Would it be possibly in a reference to, like what Sam said, having the the larger acreage, and you can have multi, so in A1, it's just listing, these are the 3 different types of dwellings that could be there.
Well, if it is,
Because
we
of
need to
that.
take it out of this, because it's all, as Sam said, it's very well defined with 12 or more acres. So we wouldn't want to be redundant in there, especially as confusing as this possibly could be, since it doesn't have an acreage requirement.
I just,
Right, and I think what you're referring to is where it says how much space you need per dwelling unit. Is that correct?
so, the one I gave you up there, it says 12 or more acres, you can have up to 3 homes on the property, and
Oh, and that's
and
the
it,
exception for.
and it defines why, what it's for, why are they giving you this ability, and anybody that comes forward with farm use, I explain to them that it needs to be immediate family members, the moment that it's no longer immediate family members, we need to orient the houses to where they can be split up in the future. Joe Blow can't come stay in that house. This is for farm use, family members, or farm hands. Now, if Joe Blow is actively working your farm, then you have a legitimate reason to have Joe Blow in that house. Now, I'm very leery ever of approving that. Talking with Brandon, it's a very slippery slope. Proving the fact that Joe Blow is not working your farm is nearly impossible.
So there's also in the A1 zoning district, in the Trousdale zoning resolution, it clarifies what the minimum amount of space is, minimum area per dwelling unit, which is also my interpretation of why it could be trying to permit more than one home per property. For example, the minimum area per dwelling unit added in 1986 was 2 acres with fire and water, 2 acres with water, and then 4 acres if you don't have fire. So that makes me think that the intent is if you're coming in with a more than 4 acre property, you could potentially put 2 homes on it without subdividing. But yes, it does conflict with the point that you just made about what's in. Was added later in 96.
Okay.
So my personal opinion, not to sway y'all, I want to know y'all's feeling on this individually. Is I don't know why it would be mentioned twice and also with a different number. So I would assume it's meaning duplex, just the wrong wordage was used. But that is a decision we need to fix, and if we want to fix it, we need to change the wording to make it more understandable.
Let's hear from the mayor.
I just got a question, could you give me the section number you're referencing for the 12 acres and up to 3 homes?
Yeah, that's section 3.020.
And that's in the Trousdale zoning regulation.
It is, yes.
And it may be, that we just may need to just ask the county court to take it out. I mean, it could, it got to, this has been a working document for several decades now. And it may have had a good meaning at one point, but it may not be relevant now. So I don't know.
So by taking that out, are we saying that we don't want duplexes on A1?
That
I don't think that would apply for that. I think that
if that's taken out, single family is the only thing that's allowed unless it's 12 or more acres.
and if you don't mind duplexes, you change two families to duplexes. Make it clarify, make it specific.
Yeah, consistent with all the other wording.
Right.
Somebody told me an email a few weeks back that duplexes used to be allowed in A1.
Sure.
They used to be allowed in A1. I have not had the time to confirm or, find false that statement yet. So I need to pull the older ordinances without the changes in them to see what used to be allowed.
I can tell you, I lived on one in Walnut Grove, so at one point they were allowed.
So the issue, another issue that I'm running into across the county is, Joe Blow goes out and makes a duplex, but he was never officially approved to make a duplex.
Okay.
And since he wasn't stopped, now the duplex is there. Going back is something I would have to take into court to get fixed. And then we get into dates and times of when it was done, which I have done that with others. So once I receive the complaint on those kind of properties, it's a lot of research. And I have to build a case to get it fixed.
So like they should build a case to, well, it should be approved.
Yes.
Because it's incumbent upon them to go by the rules. Ignorance of the law, there's no,
Technically, we're both building a case. They have to build a case to defend themselves. I'm building a case to defend the county's stance on the property.
Okay.
But yes, there are duplexes out there. I am working as hard and fast through all these issues as I can. Court is pretty much stopped at the moment. I've got 9 to 12 cases that are pending for the same day.
Is that because of the virus?
Because of the coronavirus, it keeps getting kicked down. So where I was trying to do 3 a month in court, not 3 cases, because usually I can get most of them resolved, but where I was lining them up to go to court 3 every month, they all compile, and now I'm gonna have an entire day in court. So.
In reading the second half of 3.020, I think that this is further trying to reinforce that you could, this minimum lot area for dwelling that's in A1, based on it saying that, 2 additional dwellings, for immediate family or persons employed that are owned by their families, the site of each dwelling unit should meet all minimum lot and yard requirements of the district, such that the site can be subdivided and remaining acreage if necessary. So not well communicated, but I think that the intent is that, for example, if I were going to look at the A1 zoning district minimum lot area, and say I don't have a public water supply or fire protection, the minimum lot area for dwelling unit is 4 acres. So theoretically, if I had 12 acres, I could put 1 principal dwelling and 2 additional on that property. However, I would need to cite them such that in the future, they could be subdivided each into 4 acre lots.
Which is what we do. It was set up that way so they could be subdivided. So if anybody does, which I've had a few, we do orient the houses to where they all face appropriately and they are spaced properly apart where they can be subdivided in the future. Normally, 99.9% of the time, I talk them out of doing it all on the property. You can't get a loan. I mean, there might be a bank out there, but I don't know. You can't get a loan for a house that is not on its own property. So.
It's hard to foreclose on a house on land someone else owns. Wouldn't it? You wouldn't do that with the land?
Nope, no way.
I do agree that true family needs to be taken out
Well,
or reworded.
my suggestion would be, let's give Sam and Mary the opportunity to look at it for another month, bring us back recommendations, and if we don't hear anything that we like, then we just, would this have to go to the, if we say the final decision was to take it out, would that be a recommendation to the county court to change the wording of that?
Yeah, because it's the Trousdale zoning.
That's what I
ordinance,
thought.
It's not the subdivision, it's the zoning ordinance itself, so that would have to go to the county commission for approval, I believe. Mary, can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think it'd be.
No, I think you're right, I just.
Yeah, that's correct. And the other way this could go potentially is, it sounds like someone might be interested in putting a duplex in their zone district. So if you all make the interpretation that two family doesn't include a duplex, but you don't want to change any language, Sam would just go with that determination and not issue a building permit for that, and then that person could appeal that decision and that language interpretation at the board of zoning appeals.
That makes sense. Okay. Mary talks fast sometimes.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're right, maybe. What do we want to do?
I just want y'all to think about it tonight.
Go, come back next month and.
Go study, let me know your thoughts, so that I can bounce them off of what I'm already thinking it means. And then we will either come up with a change or recommend a removal.
That's okay with everybody? All right. I think we've had a very good meeting this evening.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, no, we still got an opening here on the planning commission. Mary can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think there's a requirement under state law, and if not, it's still a good idea to try to have representation on the planning commission throughout their entire planning area, which survey, so I don't have that way I can see what area.
I'm in third district. Give the mayor and Mary Ann, Ms. Keesley, Mr. Thomas, Ms. Harper, 8. Mr. Foster's not here, Mr. Nolan,
First,
Mr. Slaughter.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So are you gonna keep these and like bring them to each meeting and we'll have who's gonna
I'll,
fill that out? And
well, I was thinking that it'd be easy for Mary Ann to fill it out at the end of, or when the decisions are made.
Right.
And then when we adjourn, she can hand me what she's filled out and I'll get posted to Amy.
No, okay.
Or I can scan them.
Or you can scan it and send it to me.
Fill it out and scan it and send it to Amy.
I'm not big on adding work to a person that's already.
I mean, whatever you want to do.
The pay's good though.
I can save it. It's more professional if I just save it and I go in and type it. and send it to you.
It's whatever works best for you.
So you want to just email it to you and you
Yeah.
save it to your computer? I
Okay.
agree, that would be by far the easiest.
And
Okay.
it'll look more professional if we've got some language to go there that's typed in that
And then
language.
you just save it to your computer. Then you got it for posterity. If need be.
Okay.
I'm sorry, was the discussion on the form?
Yeah.
I think Amy can put it where that last section is a fillable PDF, so you can just go in there and type and fill it out.
Right.
So I think she could do that, and then you can just save it as your template, and every time you open it up, put in the information and just save it as a different, whatever different one you need to type it as.
That's, I have a PDF, that's why I was scan it, just save it as that way.
Y'all bring it back in old school days, that's the way I used to do it. I'm glad I went through it. All right. Sam, anything big coming up on the horizon we need to be aware of before we adjourn?
Just presented our big one, the 48 unit. That's planned if it goes through zoning properly. So there'll be 48 more units that we'll get. I have some theories, but I really don't want to speak them before they're set in place.
Sure.
But I think there's potential next year, if not the year after, for another very, very large subdivision. So.
And y'all may have heard Mary Ann and I talking before the meeting, with all the growth we've had over the past few years, it actually has not, it's had a minimal effect on the number of students in the school system. Today, we're actually probably down 100. Most school systems are down, because we can't find where the kids are. They could, really, they can already more retired, congregate. Well, no, it's because of the virus. It's made it much easier for families to slip through your fingers, so to speak, and you can't, prove where they are, because used to you find that when they registered in another school system, then they would send a request for records back here, and we knew where they were. But now there's so many going to homeschool and virtual school and all the other different types of schools that it's made it almost impossible to keep up with.
I would also add that we have a declining birth rate. University of Tennessee's, I was at a conference last year, or year before last, it was a few months before coronavirus hit. And they're projecting they're going to see school-aged children start to decline in 2026. And that's a combination of, birth rates falling, people that are millennials and whatnot are having children later in life. They're not having it at the beginning, they want to have a career or something, then having older people like my wife, now we're not going to have any children. So you've got a lot of different combination of factors, and a lot of people that are moving here, or a good number of people that are living here, are moving from Mount Juliet, Hendersonville, something like that, had their home, already had their kids, sold out there and bought here, and were able to put money in the bank for what they got there. So there's a many different combination of factors, I think, is why you're not seeing that bump in the schools. But again, that factor could change next month. We have a lot of influx into this area from people moving from other states, because we're an hour away from the big city right now. So, but I think there's a lot of different factors right now we're not seeing, and it could be that you do see it in the future, but right now that's some of the things that explain why you're not seeing it so far.
And that goes to helping us with our property taxes, because we're not under any pressure to have to build a new school. So that's good.
Is it too early for the census to come back, the census results, is that?
You're not going to see the census results till September.
Y'all may have noticed the new roof at the old high school, the middle school. The guys like made me sick. I saw him standing on that gym the other day. Putting that, man, I wouldn't do that for nothing. It scared me, and I just watched him. But that project should end into this month, early April. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Nyman, do I have a second? We are adjourned. Thank y'all. Oh, on the road. On the Jeep. Crazy.